Welcome, everyone, to Online Presenters Meeting. It has now begun. Welcome, fellow Toastmasters and guests. Please note that in order to be a member of our club, you must be a current or former active member of Toastmasters International and have completed at least 6 Toastmasters official speeches, or alternately, if you have substantial relevant presentation experience, you may apply for membership after demonstrating your abilities in a 2 to 3 minute speech delivered during one of our club meetings. All requests for membership are subject to approval by the members of the club. If you have not already done so, please change your panel to ensure it shows your name and role, if any or multiple. Right-click and select Rename to do so. We have members and guests from many countries throughout the world. Thus, as a professional organization, we ask that you please be aware of language or word usage that may be considered offensive or otherwise insensitive due to cultural differences. Please note that we are recording this meeting and your video and audio contribution may be used for club marketing purposes. Also, please mute your microphone when you're not speaking. Please welcome the one, the only, the great, the brightest we've heard today, but apparently the blonde is the natural hair color, filling in as president, but taking us through the meeting as the Toastmaster of the day, the great Blondini, Kim Leeming.
Thank you so much, Joni. As presiding officer, fellow Toastmasters, and dear guests, I'd like to welcome everyone to tonight's online presenters meeting. Random acts of kindness is the theme for tonight's meeting. Have you ever done something nice for someone else just because you wanted to, not because you felt you had to, or to do it, or that you had to repay someone for something? If so, then you've done a random act of kindness. These benevolent acts boost your mood and improve the lives of others. Scientists have tried to quantify the results of random acts of kindness. Across multiple experiments involving approximately 1,000 participants, people performed a random act of kindness. That is, an action done with the primary intention of making someone else who isn't expecting the gesture feel good. The people who perform these kind acts expect nothing in return. In this experiment, the specific acts of kindness varied. For example, some people wrote notes just because. In another, they gave things away like hot chocolate or cupcakes. They then asked the person who performed the benevolent act to report their own experience and how it made them feel, and also to predict their recipient's response. They also asked the recipients to report their experience. In other words, they compared the performer's expectations of the recipient's mood with the recipient's actual experience. What they found is that both the performers and the recipients of the acts of kindness were in more positive moods than normal after these exchanges. Also, the experiment showed that the performers undervalued their impact. The recipients actually felt, significantly better than the kindness actors expected. Kindness can also be contagious. Another experiment showed that people who had just been on the receiving end of a kind act gave substantially more to the next anonymous person than those who had not. The person who performed the initial benevolent act did not realize that their generosity would spill over in these downstream interactions. I was recently the recipient of a random act of kindness, but I'm not ready to share this story yet, so I'm going to do it after we introduce all of our helpers tonight. So, 1 second here. I am so sorry. Okay, here we go. I am close. Are you ready for tonight's meeting? Our meetings consist of 4 main parts. The first part is the tip of the day. Oh. This is a 3 to 5 minute presentation of a tip about technology, technique, or leadership. The second part is a prepared speeches. This is where people present a speech for a particular project from their chosen Toastmasters pathway. The third part is table topics. This is the impromptu speaking part of the meeting where we practice speaking off the cuff. Often these impromptu speeches give us hilarious results. And the final part of the meeting is the evaluation portion of the meeting. Each speaker will receive an evaluation. This is a great opportunity for all of us to learn from the feedback each speaker receives. After these valuable evaluations, the general evaluator will also give us an overall meeting evaluations. It may seem like the Toastmaster a day runs the meeting, but it's actually a team effort. Tonight's online presenters volunteers have been announced. I will now introduce them. They will each have 1 minute to describe their role for tonight's meeting. Our timer for tonight is Carolina Ramirez. Carolina, would you please tell us your duties as timer?
Sure, Kim. My role as a timer is to keep track of time of everyone who speaks here in the meeting, the prepared speakers, impromptu speakers, and evaluator. At the end of the meeting, I will give you my report. Back to you, Kim.
Thank you, Carolina. Next up is our counter, Andriy Smolenko. Andriy, could you please describe your duties tonight?
Yes, certainly, Kim. My duty is simple and clear. I will be looking out for crunch words, so-called words that affect our speech. You know, well, and so on. As a Ukrainian, I can keep a very strong ear on all those naughty words that we all love to use. And hopefully, I will come back to you at the end of the meeting with some positive feedback on what you did well and what you did even better. Back to you, Kim.
Thank you, Andriy. Next up is our grammarian, Andy Byrne. Andy, can you please tell us your duties for tonight? You're muted, Mr. Andy.
There I go. I'm unmuted now, right?
Yes, you are.
The role of the grammarian is to carefully listen to what people are saying, how they're using pauses, if they're using appropriate language, and if they use the word of the day, which this time is benevolence. Desire to do good to others, goodwill, charitableness, to be filled with benevolence towards one's fellow creatures, an act of kindness, the charitable gift. This is what I'll be listening for, keeping notes, and when I get called upon at the end of the meeting, I will share the results with each of you.
Thank you, Andy, for benevolently giving us the role of grammarian. Tonight's watcher for tonight is Jim Barber. Jim, can you please tell us your role for tonight?
With pleasure, Madam Toastmaster. The watcher of the evening is very similar to the grammarian of the evening, except the grammarian listens to what people are saying. The watcher pays attention to what people are doing. It's a visual grammarian. As the watcher, I'm going to be observing everybody. I'm going to be seeing how well people use the visual frame, how their lighting is, how their how their gestures work, what their backgrounds look like, and that sort of thing. And I will be giving a report at the end of the meeting.
Thank you, Jim. Next up is our vote counter for tonight, and that is Carolina. Carolina, can you tell us about your split personality for tonight as the vote counter?
Yes, Kim, today I will be counting the votes for your favorite prepared speaker, your favorite impromptu speaker, and your favorite evaluator. I will put a link in the chat and you will click and vote for your favorite. At the end of the meeting, I will announce the winners. Back to you, Kim.
Thank you, Carolina. This brings us to the tip of the day portion of the meeting. Tonight's tip of the day will be given by Kirthikka Devi Venkataram. Take it away, Kirthikka.
Oh, thank you, Kim. I'm just starting it right now. Okay. Fine. So, as we all know, in today's post-COVID work culture, online collaboration has become mandatory. We cannot avoid being in a Zoom meeting and using this as an opportunity. Today, I'm going to explain about the technology-powered productivity software, which is being released by Zoom this September. The feature that they have added is Zoom AI Companion, which is rebranded, that is formally called as Zoom IQ. AI Companion is a generative AI offering, which is delivering real-time AI digital assistance capability that is used by the participants, which increases the team collaboration as well as it boosts the productivity. This AI Companion is offered to all paid Zoom users with no additional cost. And being released in 2023, they are also committed to have responsible AI, which means they do not use the text, audio, video attachment as well as the meeting apps to train their AI model. Since I don't have a paid user account, I'm just going to show you a glimpse of how the AI Companion is integrated into the existing AI, into the Zoom software as such. So meet this Zoom AI Companion. What are the features of Zoom AI Companion is like, it provides a summary of chat messages offline. Even if you miss a meeting, you don't have to worry about missing all the important messages. The AI Companion gives you a summary offline, as well as it allows you to compose chat responses by the prompt that you give in an effective way, like in the right tone, and the length of the responses will depend on the prompt that you give it. It also allows you to record and have a smart way of accessing it chapter-wise to access any relevant information that is required for you at the later stage, even if you miss the meeting. So these are the features that are currently available. Apart from this, you can just see the snapshot of how AI Companion looks like in the current version of Zoom. You also have certain features which is pipeline in the future, like it will come in the later months, which is a starting window that tags you like to start AI Companion, and it is also embedded in the options as summarize and compose response. This summarize and compose response or instant summarization of Zoom meeting, which is happening right now. Like if you have the meeting to be happening right now, it gives you the summarization of the meeting chat that is happening right now, but not offline. Similarly, you can also compose and send a response later. It is also integrated into your mail inbox, where you can also give a glimpse of what should be done in your meeting as the next steps, and you could also be easily able to align with the team members. That increases the productivity, focusing more on team members instead of getting stuck with the tools and like how to use them and all. So here is a small video snippet of what has been released. You can just have a look at it.
If there's supposed to be sound we're not hearing.
Okay. It's just the BGM. I think we don't have to worry about that. Help us to the conclude the message instead of leaving the meeting, as well as being able to schedule a meeting. Coming in. You also have an opportunity to generate the whiteboard and organize it in a better way. The power of generative AI is high in series as one of the outcomes which could be used to increase the productivity. One helpful feature which helps us to organize the smart recording and helps us to review it chapter wise. So as they mentioned in the end of the, as they do mention at the end of the video, like it is not available currently in every other region. We are just waiting for its rollout to happen in all the regions around. So this is about today's tip. Over to you, back to you, Toastmaster Kim.
Thank you, Kirthikka. We now move on to the prepared speeches portion of the meeting. Our first speaker for tonight is none other than tonight's awesome tip of the day speaker, Kirthikka, Devi, Venkataram. I'd like to thank Kirthikka for benevolently wearing multiple hats for tonight's meeting. Kirthikka's speech is titled, I Have No Idea, but it is from Dynamic Leadership Level 3, Increasing Knowledge. Please welcome Kirthikka Devi Venkataram.
Thank you, Kim. Okay. Yes. So today is my level 3 speech, connecting with storytelling. And my project title is The Road Not Taken, Connecting the Dots. I was doing my primary school. We moved to a place near to the seashore. Our house was around 300 meters from the beach. It was my 6th birthday. We had few of our relatives to come to our home and help us out to orient about the new place. In the evening, we planned to go to the seashore. In the seashore, there were rockety happenings, sonorous waves, reverberant bus horns buzzing around. The only soothing ones are the hankering waves, a tiny and a large swells following one another, competing equally. Curious to know more about the wave laps, I asked my grandfather, who was accompanying with me, why do the waves follow each other? And why it follows a small lap being followed by a big lap? My grandfather was a highly creative person whose explanations are scientific as well. Though he gave an unfalsifiable answer, that was a thought-provoking moment for me. He answered the tiny wave is a female wave, following aggressive high wave is a male wave. This was a kind of unrelatable information for me. I cannot connect the inside to outside by that time. I was mad to connect it, and it also looked to be like a complex articulation to process to me. Okay, what does it mean? How does it happens, or what does it happens if there is going to be a huge wave which is following the small tiny wave? This was my second question posted to my grandfather. He said, we would enter the destructive phase of the world if this is going to happen. Days passed on. As a pampered kid, I was encouraged participating in competitions like athletes and different types of sports, arts, and many more like crafts and many other competitions. I came up with flying colors, winning position, prizes, medals, and in few where I took part, I also won a marathon that did not have no age part competing in the open category. But I did not participate in any of the elocution competition, or I have won in that if I participated. I was not even bothered about that by that time. I felt content by the level of skills that I was developing without being participating in the elocution. As I moved up into my career, which was the biggest turning point to prepare to see the world and perceive it in a different way, there were a lot of shocking things that were waiting for me. Now, back to 2021. A retro to my journey in Toastmasters began in 2021, joining as a Toastmaster. So this retro to my journey to Toastmaster is a small story. Being in tech industry, where there is gender parity dominated verticals of industry is noticed. Affluent communication takes privilege moving up faster in the career ladder. I realized this, being only a technical communicator will not help me out in different verticals of the industry environment. As a strong communicator influencing others and becoming a potential asset requires me also to become a strong communicator. So this was a spur for me to join Toastmasters. I joined Toastmasters. The integrity in delivering value, reinforcing coachability, driving the team effectively, retrospecting the results, all of this were built together and energized me, delivering my authenticity as a Toastmaster. As I was posted as VPPR for the corporate club, joining shortly to Toastmasters, I started creating pamphlets, marketing the club internally, building its presence. I created a video guest packet to know more about Toastmasters and about the corporate club. Soon I started delivering speeches that built confidence in me to tackle my career obstacle. Soon, I dipped more into the animations and infomercials that helped me to connect the dots inside to outside. This was one of the statistics that seriously lightened me. I understood like the literary rate of the youth in the world, where a statistic says that was taken out till 2021. Like out of the 7 billion population, 93% of male youth literacy rate is recorded. In contrast, where 90.6% of female youth literary rate is recorded, which is close by. In India alone, the literacy rate has spiked to increase by 30% in a period of 34 years. These data articulates like there is a lack of inclusivity and not about like the gender gap or gender parity, which is noticed. It is the inclusivity and diversity in the work environment for the women in society to become independent with dignity is what is lacking. Men are more likely, even 15% more likely to get promoted to management position in an inclusive work environment, whereas in tech, 52 out of 100 women were only getting promoted to manager. Thus, the hard truth of tiny and big waves uphill battle now open my eyes and open my doors to become a Toastmaster, a better version of me and a better leader. As Ronald Reagan, the former president of USA, stated, there are no limits to growth because there are no limits to human intelligence, imagination, and wonder. I imparted the storytelling as one of the important aspects in me, which has made me to feel the way that gives out as words, that gives me out my words. I also learned the way that I imagine becomes my visuals, and the way that I speak is what I become, however more or less efficient and proficient I am. Thank you.
Thank you, Kirthikka. I always learn so much when I hear you speak. You have such, you're so prepared, you just research, and I love it. Our second speaker for tonight is Toru Maruyama. Toru's speech is titled American Justice. This is from Persuasive Influence, Level 3, Increasing Knowledge. Please welcome Toru Maruyama, American Justice.
Thank you for your kind introduction. Can I have a time to prepare my speech? Okay. When I stayed in the United States during the 1990s as a correspondent for a Japanese news agency, I was always curious about one particular issue. It was a justice. More precisely, a trial by jury. In America, it is not a judge, but a group of 12 citizens who decide the verdict. My curiosity was simple. How is jury functioning? Then I encountered O.J. Simpson's double murder case. It was the most spectacular, high-profile case I had ever witnessed. In the trial that lasted 11 months, the district attorney disclosed that O.J.'s DNA matched the one taken from the crime scene. It was 100% certain evidence to prove that O.J. was the killer. The DA was sure that the jury would return the guilty verdict, and so were the most Americans watching live TV. I still remember vividly the moment of the verdict. At 10 o'clock in the morning, on the 3rd of October, 1995, the foreperson of the jury said, "Not guilty." Entire America stopped at that moment. It was not a jubilation, but desperation in my impression. I knew why the prosecution failed. The police investigation was disastrous, sloppy, unprofessional, and out of line. The defense lawyer accused the police of planting O.J.'s blood at the crime scene to frame him. That was highly unlikely. But the prosecution couldn't disprove it and was blown away by the strong argument of the defense team. Some law experts commented that this trial showed the fundamental flaw of the jury because it ignored the scientific evidence, DNA. But my response was the opposite. Considering the juror's mission to check the integrity of the investigation and deter the abuse of power by the authorities, they did exactly what they were required to do. The jury concluded that the prosecution couldn't prove the double murder beyond reasonable doubt. O.J. Simpson escaped justice, not because jury was unscientific, but because law enforcement was incompetent. I believe this trial marked the significant turning point in American justice. Investigative authorities began to pay much attention to the proper procedure and strict preservation of evidence. Unless otherwise, they realized that they would allow many villains and crooks to escape justice, like OJ's. So the verdict of Simpson's trial was the jury's warning to the authorities not to deviate from the right path. From this, I understand that jury is an essential part of American justice and works very well because it is impartial, independent, and consistent with democracy. I was so intrigued by the jury that I wrote a book about it when I returned to Japan. And I appealed to the readers of my country that we should have a similar system. The government of Japan, learning from the American justice, amended criminal law in 2005 and created a legal body like jury, which consists of citizens and judges to decide verdicts. The idea behind it is to install common sense of citizens into the legal decision-making process like America. It began operating in 2009, and I am glad the new legal system has functioned and worked as effectively as American justice. Thank you very much for your interest, and back to the Toastmaster of the evening.
Thank you, Toru. I feel like we just watched an entire episode of Law and Order, and it was awesome. Our third speaker for tonight is Andriy Smolenko. Andriy's speech is titled, Let's Promote Online Presenters. This is from the Engaging Humor Pathway Level 3, Increasing Knowledge, using presentation software. In his speech, Andriy will ask for your involuntary participation in a recording, a short video for our club's marketing and PR campaigns. So get ready. Please welcome Andriy Smolenko. Let's promote online presenters.
My fellow online presenters, currently we have 33 members of this club on our records. 33. And normally, out of all those people, we have about 8 to maybe 12 regularly attending online presenters meetings. I have a feeling we can do better than that. And it's about time we start doing something about that. Well, yes, what can we do? And of course, I'm a speaker, so I have a plan. Also, I'm a vice president of public relations, so I'm supposed to have a plan on how to do things better with our club. And my answer is, let's bring more guests. When we bring more guests, then we have a better chance converting guests into members. And when we have more members, then we have more people attending our meetings. And when people attending our meetings, we have fun, engaging environments, and we will create more learning opportunities for everyone. Well, how are we going to do it? Again, I just have an idea I would like to share with you. Idea is really, really simple. Is to create as many as possible short videos, impromptu videos, I would say, where the participants, hopefully voluntarily, answer one simple question. Why should people join online presenters? And when that happens, I strongly believe magic will happen. And of course, no pressure. Your videos will only be distributed online on our websites, on YouTube page and Facebook page as well. And look, just don't worry. You are not the first one promoting online presenters. We already have a number of speakers. For example, our star of the club, Carl Walsh, has recorded the video. And your servants, humble servants, me, I recorded the video as well. So the next step, as you could probably guess, I'm going to ask involuntarily a number of volunteers from today's meeting to say a few words. Number one, who you are, briefly about yourself. 2, why you join online presenters. And 3, why you think people should join our club. So the first volunteer I'm going to ask is Toru Maruyama. Toru, could you please, in under 1 minute, tell us about yourself, why you join online presenters, and why you think should other people join as well?
Thank you very much. I am a journalist. I am good at writing. I am good at conversation. I'm good at interview, but I'm horrible in public speaking. So that's why I joined Toastmasters to brush up my speaking ability from zero. And what is important for me is that I started from zero. And considering what I did a good job. So it took me 8 years or something like that to speak like that. So I want to recommend others to do. Why don't you start from your zero until you can speak like me? That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Toru, for your inspiring speech. And the next volunteer, I'm going to ask Johnny Laidlaw. Johnny, please tell us who you are, why did you join Online Presenters, and why should people join?
Joni Laidlaw from Jamaica, West Indies, and it's in the name why I joined Online Presenters. In a world where everybody wants to go back in person, it's nice to have a club that's dedicated to a space I love. I usually say that the me that you see there, the virtual online me, is who I aim to be. And at Online Presenters, I have a place to cultivate and work with that with a group of people internationally who can teach me about different cultures, tips, tricks. And even today, I heard about Zoomtopia again from one of our members. That's why I love Online Presenters.
Thank you very much, Johnny. What a brilliant short speech. Kim Limin, the same question goes to you. Tell us shortly, briefly, who you are, why did you join, and why should people join our club?
So this is so playing into my whole role as VP membership, but I joined because I am totally comfortable speaking in huge groups in person, but on a camera I go blah 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 blah. So this has been the best thing for me. I have loved everything about Online Presenters. I love people like you, Andriy. I love everything that this club represents. It gives us confidence. It gives us the practice to speak to a camera, and just, that's it. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Kim. And next, Carolina Ramirez. That's your turn.
My name is Carolina Ramirez. I live in Chile, South America, and I joined Toastmasters here in Chile because I used to be very shy, and one of my biggest fears was public speaking. And I grew as a Toastmaster in Chile. I became a better person, I think. And it was time to look for an advanced club. And I found a really advanced club, a great club, very professional club, Online Presenters in the US. I live in Chile. I didn't have the opportunity to join an advanced club in Chile. So I chose Online Presenters, and this experience has been great. And you should join as well.
Oh, yes, the final bit was really important, and you should join as well. Well, I'm planning to do just a number of more videos, to be precise, about 20. So watch this space. Next time, your turn. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster of the evening.
Thank you, Andriy. That was like the perfect video for my whole VP membership role. So I thank you so much. So I'm gonna head back to the theme of the day. Wow. Which is random acts of kindness. And I want to share with you. Wow. I am so sorry. I'm going to go to the next thing because I do not have this. So, our timer for tonight is Carolina Ramirez. And thank you, Carolina. Now, if everyone could please take a moment to cast your vote for best speaker, that would be great. Please send your vote to Carolina. We now move on to table topics. The table topics master for tonight is a treat for all of us. I can't wait to hear what he's going to do, but it's Jim Barber. Jim, take it away.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster and my fellow Toastmasters. As the table topics master this evening, I'm going to give you a varied number of things. Some of them will deal with our theme of the day or our word of the day, benevolence, and some of them may just be in a different direction. But let's I would start by saying that we're going to, number one, your responses, of course, need to be within 1 to 2 minutes for those of you that may have trouble remembering from last week's meeting. Also, I will make an effort to call only on those people who do not have a role. However, since that isn't anybody, I'm going to be calling on everybody this evening, and I might even call on somebody twice, so pay attention. To get us started off, let's see. My first question would be, in the term of benevolence, what is your favorite charity? If a billionaire came to you sometime and said, I'd like to donate $1 million to a charity, which charity would you recommend I give it to? What charity would you recommend to them? Joni.
That is a head scratcher for me. I started out helping in a lot of areas. I may not have it financially, but I do have the ability to assist with the hands, the head, and the heart that I have. My son has clips on Instagram of him working with the Nathan E. Banks Foundation. The People First language for disability was really important to me. But there are also other charities that also deal with neurodivergence, not just here, but internationally, because that's something that's close to my heart. This is something that most people haven't studied or been a part of, that we're different. And disability doesn't mean that you can't exist and you can't do, but education as well as accommodation is quite important. But then I also know that there are quite a lot of children, even here in Jamaica. By the way, I do plan to start a charity in this. And don't worry, I'll be reaching out to everybody in online presenters to help, who need to go to school. We're going into a computer age. And in Jamaica, it's not the cheapest thing in the world to be able to afford a laptop. It's not really that easy to get your books and additional things that you need in order to do that. And as such, there's so many areas that I want to assist in. As a member of Y4SD, which is another organization, we try to help the homeless. There was an organization, or is an organization here, that's specifically what they do. There's so much need that I can't actually look at anyone and say my benevolence one takes precedence to anything else. And though you might not be able to fix the problem, it helps to help as many as you can. There's a man walking along the shore, and I know we know this story, and he took up one starfish and he threw it back in the water. But there were so many on the beach, and someone asked him, what difference does it make? Look how many are there. He said, well, to that one, it made a world of difference. So while I wouldn't pick one to help, I'd spread the love around and help to build from there. Back to you, our Table Topics Master.
Thank you very much, Joni. Good answer. All right. Second question. What benevolence, personal benevolence that you have received, are you grateful for? We haven't heard much from Kirthikka. So let's turn to her, because she hasn't had much of an opportunity to speak this evening. Kirthikka, what personal benevolence are you grateful for?
If I have to say, the personal benevolence that I received would be the kindness of my parents on all the time that I broke down. It's not because of me myself, it's because of certain external environment that made me to break down. And the personal benevolence and which I like to gratitude them at this stage is for all the support that they have provided me to make me as myself, to become the real me, and also to give support in every other sense, which means I am today alive because of them. I'm grateful about that, and I'm grateful about the benevolence that they have showed in spite of being as parents, as a wonderful human beings as well. Back to you.
Thank you, Kirthikka. All right. Some of my questions are not going to be specific on benevolence or random acts of kindness, because I think that springs from an attitude. And so some of these questions are going to be more on the line of personal attitude. For example, what have you done in the last year that you were proud of? Carolina?
Oof. I think I've been proud of the projects I've been working this last year in the company I'm working as an employee. I work in technology for minings, and we are creating some digital tools that helps people to improve their work or make their life easier, or maybe facilitate things at work. And it has been a lot of work, but I think that I'm proud of that because I have put a lot of energy in those projects. I have put many hours, and I have put the heart in those projects. I've been very close to the end users of the digital tools we are created. I have learned a lot, but I realized that the things I've done has been useful for someone, has improved the life of someone else, and I'm proud of that. And I didn't take my time, but I think I'm in a good time to finish. Thank you for your question, Jim.
You within the time.
As timer, I think you can arbitrarily declare you were within time. There. Who's going to argue with you? Thank you, Carolina. Next question. And again, this is basically on attitude. What are you looking forward to? This is gratitude basically for the future. What are you looking forward to, Andy?
Thank you, Jim. I appreciate that question. What am I looking forward to in the future and gratitude? Well, one of the things that I believe that I'm looking forward to is watching my children grow up and develop into the fine people that they're becoming. I just spent this weekend up in Washington, D.C. with my son, his wife, and my two granddaughters. They're twins, fraternal twins, and we had a grand time. Seeing them develop, one of them is involved with soccer, and the other is involved in field hockey. And I enjoy spending time with them and watching them grow up. I remember that when my son was very little, I set him off on a journey towards chess. And that began at age 3. And by the age 10, he was ranked 10th in the country in chess. And so the things that you do to help your kids, sometimes it's their perception that it's something good. Sometimes it's their perception that you're just pushing something on them. But then you think back to that movie of King Richard and what he did for the Serena sisters. And you think back to Tiger Woods and his dad and the introduction of golf and the practice and what he poured into his kid about golf and his feelings about golf and how that turned out to be Tiger Woods, one of the greatest golf players in the world. So I think that each one of us has the ability to imprint on our families and others things that are important to us that may be things that will become important to them in the future. That's my thoughts.
Mighty fine thoughts. Thank you, Dr. Andy. Madam Toastmaster, I was going to call on everybody, but I don't know if we have the time. How are we doing on the meeting? I don't have the agenda in front of me. And you're muted. You're muted.
Oh, honestly, I want to give one more story. So I'm thinking that we are, yeah, do one more and then I'll give my story and then we're good.
Okay, all righty. Then let's, for the last one, what are some of your simple pleasures? What do you like? What brings joy into your life? Little things. Andriy.
Thank you very much, Mr. Table Topics Master. Some of the little pleasures that I really enjoy is sleeping late. I love it. I think if you ask anyone if they would, what they would do on Sunday morning when no one is around, no worries, just go for a jog, do the healthy run, do the Toastmasters, or just an extra hour of laying in bed, feeling all that silky, nice touch of your cushion, with the window open and the fresh summerly air just gently flowing into the room. And you can see the first sunlight, but it's away from you. You don't have to wake up. You can carry on laying in bed. That amazing feeling. I would trade many things in life just for that feeling. And the reason for it, I'm a single dad, full-time, and a businessman. And I don't get much sleep. And when I get it, I'm really, really grateful for that. Those little simple pleasures in life, they especially become more valuable when I talk to my children about their life, what they enjoy and what they don't. And when they tell me, look, Dad, when you become a granddad, you will not get much sleep as well. So you better enjoy what you can get from us now. And that would be my simple pleasure in life. Back to you, Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Andriy. All right, my fellow Toastmasters, that brings us to the end. I believe Carolina has reported all of the times in the chat, and it looked like everybody was within time. So would you please cast your votes when the opportunity is there now? Would you please cast your vote for the best table topic speaker? And I now return control to our Toastmaster, Kim Leaning.
Thank you, Jim. That was awesome. So I want to just share a random act of kindness that I was recently the recipient of this. I want to share the story with all of you tonight. As most of you know, I have a passion for magic. Well, my husband and I were attending our first magic convention a couple of weeks ago in Vegas. I was walking down a hallway when someone asked me if I had just seen who walked past us. I had not. It turns out that it was David Copperfield. I said, "Excuse me," and I turned around and ran down the hall. And then I started calling, "David, David, David." He stopped and asked if he knew me. I said, "Yeah, no," but then I shared the story. So when I was much younger, and this was about 1979, my parents took me to see David Copperfield in Long Beach, California. After the show, we had our picture taken with David. My sister and I were on either side of him while my brother took the picture. This was well before digital cameras, and back then you never knew what the picture would look like until after it was developed. Unfortunately, we later realized that my brother had cut off all of our heads. So, somewhere I have a picture of David Copperfield's body. After I finished telling him the story, David asked, "Would you like to remedy that situation?" I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Would you like to take a selfie with me?" I let him know that I'm not very good at taking selfies. He said, "But I am." So I unlocked my phone, I handed it to him, he put it in selfie mode, and he took some selfies. And here we go. So he did 3 selfies. And then he said, "Just so you have a story to tell," he cut our heads off. So I cannot express how great this was for me. I was giddy. Receiving this benevolent random act of kindness was awesome, and it made my day. So I'm going to hand it back to the general evaluator, but the findings of kindness experiments coupled with my experience with David Copperfield suggest that what might seem like a small gesture when we are deciding whether or not to do something nice for someone else could matter a great deal to the person we do it for. So please just do random acts of kindness, and I'm going to hand it over to our general evaluator, who is, I do not know. I'm not sure who it is.
Carolina Ramirez.
Oh, I'm Carolina, my favorite Toastmaster of the day. Carolina.
Carolina Ramirez. Thank you very much, Kim. Let's move fast. The first evaluator is Mr. Jim Barber. He's going to evaluate Kirthikka's speech. Welcome, Jim. Welcome again.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. It's nice to be back. Hi, Kirthikka. What a good job you did this evening. This was really nice. I'm just going to, as Carolina indicated, we're short on time, so I'm just going to cut right through this. There are basically 3 aspects to your presentation: verbal, the content, and visual. Verbal, knocked it out of the park. That's an American expression to say you did really well on everything. I loved the way you started. You talked about it was my 6th birthday. That is such a great opening for a story. And you were talking about storytelling, but so you didn't just describe it, you actually did it. It was my 6th birthday. You brought us in to the story that you were telling about. I liked that. You continued that all the way through your diction, your vocabulary, your volume, everything, your pace, everything was good. I enjoyed the verbal aspects of your presentation. Content, this was a very well-written presentation. It's obvious that you had put a lot of time into it. It was well-structured. You had a good opening, a good closing, a good body in between. We always knew what you were doing. This was, again, very well written, very well prepared. The third aspect is visual. Here it was good, but had a few things that you could work on. The good parts were your lighting, your visual presence, your background, you were centered in the frame. Those things worked very nicely. Couple of problems though. At the beginning, towards the beginning, you put up the title of the presentation and that occupied most of the screen. And your picture was a little tiny square down here, courtesy of Zoom. And so we were, you were the star. You should be the thing in the middle. So it was fine to put the title of the presentation up, but then you should take it down and come strictly to where we can see you. Because especially when you're telling a story, we want to see you in the presentation. Now, some of let's see. Oh, you used a graph in there, and the graph again was very good. I like the use of graphs to support what you're talking about. But the graph had too much information on it, basically. It was impossible to take it all in. A summary would have been better than the fine details that were put there. And again, it should only be put up for a few seconds to make your point, and then it shifts back to the star of the presentation, which is you. And finally, you were using notes, which is perfectly acceptable, but you need to bring the notes up closer to the camera, because with the notes down, you were looking down quite a bit like this, and you didn't have the eye contact with the camera that you needed. So if you can, find a way to get your notes up in this direction rather than having your notes down here. But this was a great presentation. I thoroughly enjoyed it and looking forward to the third one. Next one, I'm sorry. Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you very much, Jim. The second evaluator of this meeting is Johnny Lalo. She's going to evaluate Toru Maruyama's speech. Welcome, Johnny.
Now, I know that we are all interested in law and order, and whenever someone starts to talk about the criminal justice system, we automatically fall into all of those dramas that we have seen. I do believe Law and Order currently has, 500 spin-offs, Special Victims Unit, the one about the person who robbed the thing behind there. I mean, after all, there are so many of them because there is copious amounts of interest in the legal system. But sadly enough, our legal system in general, in America, not only in America, here in Jamaica as well, is not 12 angry men. We want to believe that everybody is going to be benevolent and we're going to defend the innocents or try to get to justice if that's the case. And I can tell you that trial by jury, just like the justice system, is not always fair. In the same way, Toru, you explained that your perception is one person got away because of the trial by jury. I know that a lot of people got locked up and DNA evidence actually had to exonerate them. That's the thing about perception. When you're presenting, I like the fact that you backed up what you were presenting with information and facts as per your research and what you stated. I would have liked, though, to have asked you to provide me with some information, some facts. Most of your speech was opinion-based, meaning this was your perception and your belief. And while we're connecting with storytelling, if we're going to do such a controversial topic that is so polarizing, no, because after all, there is currently a hashtag just to talk about, well, actually a number of hashtags to talk about the justice system and how it's failing. And there have been a number of riots, etc., that have occurred. It helps to have figures and not just anecdotal evidence, because anecdotal evidence can sway either way based on your opinion. Because it was a connecting with storytelling speech, I was enthralled. I listened. I liked your perception. I liked the fact that you shared it with conviction and strength. Most people, whenever they're talking about a polarizing topic, they tend to be a bit iffy on what they're saying. And I always believe, and the Jamaican will come out, if you're going to say something, put your whole back in there. You're going to say it, you're going to say it with strength. And I like the fact that you did that to bring across your perception of the situation and how it worked. Overall, I liked your pace, your tone. I could understand you, and I look forward to hearing more. But next time, just throw in a bit of facts for me so that if I go out and research it, I can also find out how you came to the conclusion that you did. Back to you, Madam General Evaluator, even though I believe you're going to technically come back to me.
You're muted, Carolina.
Oh no, I was muted. Yes, Joni is a very proactive Toastmaster, and she's going to evaluate Andriy's speech as well. Welcome again, Joni.
Toastmaster Andriy, I loved the audience interaction. Now, audience interaction is something that can be quite complicated when it comes to timing when you're doing your speech. After all, you have no idea who is going to go off on a tangent and take longer than the time that you stipulated. But you came in on time, you had all of us involved, and you got it done. I always like when you use Prezi because it adds to the effect. You're still in the screen, we can still see you, but we get the effects of your presentation. Now, the project that you are doing is to present using presentation software, and I like the fact that you did incorporate that in your speech. How would I suggest that you make this a bit better, to add a little bit of oomph to what you're doing? Well, it was engaging humor. And while I love the line about your humble servant, and I did start to chuckle, the incorporation of humor was a bit lacking in the entire speech. Now, normally, whenever we do a project, I know that presentation software isn't really aligned with humor, but because it's on the path, it does help to incorporate the overall theme of the path in the project that you are doing. And maybe if you added a bit of slapstick, some not just self-deprecating humor, but adding more layers and levels of humor to the presentation might have caused us to present in a more humorous fashion. Because if you already have us joking, we're going to try to emulate you when we are presenting as well. And though it may not help for exactly what you wanted, it would help for us to be in theme with your project. Overall, I think that was a brilliant way to get us to give you the 1-minute video without actually having to ask. I liked how you incorporated the presentation software to bring across your point. Keep up the good work as it relates to utilizing Prezi, and maybe you can even take it to another level with not just the VR picture, which I was wondering, the virtual reality picture, what was the connection? If you could help explain that picture to me, it might have aided in why it was used. But other than that, enjoyed the speech, loved your audience incorporation, and we all know why we love online presenters. Back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you very much, Joni, for your evaluation. As GE, I would like to thank our accountant Andriy, grammarian Andrew Byrne, watcher Jim Barber, and chat monitor Jim Barber for pay attention to this meeting and take notes. I really appreciate if you could send your evaluation via email to the club, because we are on time to finish this meeting. And as a GE, I have to take the decision to cut the evaluation portion of this meeting. I would like to thank and congrats all the members that are present in this meeting for taking roles at the last minute. And time management is one of our values as a Toastmaster, and is a very important quality or skill in a leader. And I learned to manage the time in meetings here in Toastmasters and in online presenters as well. Please vote for your favorite evaluator. Just give me 1 minute to put the link in the chat. You can vote now for your best evaluator, and we will check the results right now. Best speaker is Toru Maruyama. Ooh. Best table topic is a speaker, Carolina Ramirez. Ooh. And best evaluator, Joni. Congrats to the winners. Miss Toastmaster, back to you.
Thank you so much. We are at the end of our meeting, and I appreciate everyone. And I think we can stop the recording unless anyone else has something to say. So thanks again.